This is the Spiritual Genius Show, the #1 podcast for unlocking more of your spiritual genius so you can really have it all. Get ready to discover timeless strategies and secrets you can use. You'll also hear from world-class entrepreneurs, leaders, athletes, and celebrities sharing how they've tapped into their spiritual genius, along with how you can do the same. Without further ado, here's your host, Yakov Smart.
Welcome. In this episode, we're going to talk about what's next with the show. And if you're being here, if you're listening to this right now, chances are you've listened to a few episodes already. Lots of great stuff, lots of great guests. If you're still playing catch up or haven't listened to any of the episodes, highly recommend going back and doing so. We've covered a lot of great stuff, a lot of great topics. So today's episode is going to be a short one, and I'm actually going to be announcing a few things that I think you'll be really excited about. So, first things first, we are going to rebrand the show. It's no longer going to be called the Spiritual Genius Show. And the reason being, over the past few months, I've been working on a bigger brand and updated the vision. And so this show will be an extension of that, and we're going to rebrand it and relaunch it as a new podcast. So, with that being said, what I want to encourage you to do is, if you haven't done so yet, by the way, this show will still be live on Apple Podcasts and all those good places where you're listening to it. What I want to encourage you to do, if you've gotten value from the show, if it's something that you enjoy listening to, you can see the new brand at yousupercharged.com/guide. And so what I want to encourage you to do is download that guide. It's free. It's called The Best Kept Secret to Doubling Your Income and Becoming Unstoppable Without Selling Your Soul, right? And without sacrificing your family. So that's a guide that we published, short, sweet. I think you're going to have a massive insight when you review that guide. So go ahead, after listening to this episode, take a look at that. And then that way you can be on my email list. And once we have the new show out, we will send you updates and keep you in the loop. And as I wrap up today, I want to give you 3 lessons that I learned from recording the show. And if you listen back to the first episodes, you saw the vision for the show and you saw the show evolve, and I'll give you the 3 lessons. And once again, we're continuing on with the show and all these other things. It's just a matter of rebranding and making sure that it's that much more aligned. So the first lesson, getting started is truly the most important part, right? By starting this show, it propelled a lot of momentum. It propelled a lot of change in my life. As I mentioned in the first episode, these are topics, these are things that I'd wanted to talk about for a while. And it was amazing the ripple effect creating the show has had. So I encourage you, if there's something that you've been contemplating, if there's something that you just feel, and I'm not talking about something that just seems like a shiny object, oh, that'd be cool to do, although it might be it. But if there's something that's been on your mind or even on your heart, as some people would say, and for whatever reason you've been putting it off or it just hasn't come to fruition yet, I'd encourage you to take some big steps in that direction. Because even if it doesn't turn out quite like you initially imagined, it's going to be that bridge to experiencing more of what you'd like to experience. So that's the first lesson. Second lesson, this is very interesting, especially if you have a quote unquote spiritual business. When I started this, I would often talk about a spiritual business. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. And then, spirituality is such a beautiful thing. We talked about what that means throughout the show. At the same time, the issue that a lot of spirituality has, and I think something that I learned through doing this show, is there is preconceived perceptions, right? And so if you're communicating, let's say you have a gift, or let's say you've got whatever your business is, your offer is, your relation with spirituality, right? I think depending on who you're speaking with, it's very important to frame things a certain way. What do we mean by framing? Just articulating things in a way that resonates, right? Because when I say the word spiritual to someone, their perception could be entirely different than my perception. Their perception, a lot of people, is either something that's religious or new age, right? So like I've talked about on the show, it's a word that's often been hijacked. And so what's funny, the deeper I go into understanding my spirituality and being connected and being even more in my power, the easier it is for me to be able to understand, okay, what's the best way to frame this stuff? What's the best way to articulate and communicate this, right? And so I think leading with the word spiritual is something that is very much polarizing, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But I found like when I really think about the people that I want to help the most, there's a little bit of a different way to lead. There's a different way to communicate things. And that's a lot of what's been coming out with You Supercharged. The third lesson and the final takeaway that I'll give you here as we start to wrap up. Having it all is really a possibility. I believe if there's things that deep down you are called to do, things that inspire you, your deepest values, the places where you put the most attention, if you feel like you're living a double life, which I've experienced for a decent amount of time without even knowing you. And I think a lot of people are into spirituality and personal growth, and yet they're doing things that are maybe contradictory or don't quite align with that, right? I'm not saying they're doing things that set them back, but I'm saying, like, for example, if you're into a lot of this stuff and wellness, and if you're really deep down the rabbit hole, and then let's say you have a day job where you're selling equipment to businesses, let's just say, right? It can be a spiritual experience. It can be aligned. There's ways to frame it. There's ways to look at it. I'm not knocking it. At the same time, sooner or later, right? The more every piece, every puzzle piece of what you're creating flows, the easier it becomes. And I think it gives you a limitless amount of untapped energy as opposed to extreme compartmentalization. I think compartmentalization can be important, but I think compartmentalization comes in facets of the main thing. If you're compartmentalizing 3 or 4 different things and really spinning a lot of different plates that don't have much overlap and alignment with each other, it becomes very difficult. It seems like you're leading a double life, or sometimes one bleeds over into the other one, and maybe you're not doing things as well as you're capable of. So it's been a lesson as well. So once again, appreciate you for listening. If you're a fan of the show, go to yousupercharged.com/guide. That's yousupercharged.com/guide. Get access to the guide. That way you're on our email list and you'll get updates. We'll keep you in the loop as we relaunch and rebrand the show. It's coming back better, stronger, bigger than ever. If you enjoyed this show, if you enjoyed this content, I anticipate you're going to resonate with it that much more. Appreciate you for being here, and I'll talk to you soon.